Delavan Creek actually flows into Ballston Lake, so that all this area drains into this creek, which drains into the lake. So by the town purchasing this huge piece of land here, we are protecting the lake. This is the Delavan Creek that we're standing over right now. The Delavan Creek is named for the Delavan family who lived here in the 1830s and 1840s. The Delavans were a very wealthy family, and they probably made all kinds of additions to that house to make it into a more grand place than it was when Henry Walton lived in it. They didn't live here a long time, but they also owned property in Albany. They also owned a lot of slaves. They were into the temperance movement. They did not like alcohol in any way whatsoever. And their hotel in Albany had a lot of temperance meetings in it on a regular basis. In the late 1800s, their hotel burned down in Albany. And for those of you who know this area well, that hotel, the place where that hotel was, became Union Station in downtown Albany, the train station, which was famous for many years and which still stands today. First person who lived on this property, we think, is a guy named Mitchell. We don't know anything about him. We do not know where his house was or if it even still exists. The first one we really know about, Henry Walton. Henry Walton was a rich man who, instead of building in Saratoga like all the rich people were doing back then, he decided to build in Ballston. And he built this mansion here, probably in the 1790s. He in turn sold it many times over to many people. It was owned by the Delavan family of Albany for a while, and the Delavans made it even more grand. That was in the 1830s and 1840s. And then making it most grand were the Bakers, Guy Baker and his wife, who was just called the Countess. She was actually a countess from Italy. They were the ones who were the first ones to put lights in it and the first ones to put flush toilets in it. The first indoor lights and first flush toilets in the town of Ballston in the early 1900s. Guy Baker's brother was William Bliss Baker, who was a great artist and who lived in a studio. He lived here part-time and also lived in a studio on Ballston Lake, a building we call the Castle today, and that building still stands. So let me take you back a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning and this stake that's sitting right here. This stake was our beginning point when we set up the grid by which we could determine where to dig and what finds there were in the ground when we dug them up. And every 5 to 10 meters we put one of these little pin flags with a number on it, so that when people come in and dig and they find something, they look at the number on the pin flag, and we have a paper grid that indicates where each one of the numbers is. We can later on determine exactly where that object came from. Let's see the change in color. So what did we find? We found nails, a lot of nails, but not nails like we know of them today. Square nails, square heads, handmade nails. Those nails could go back as far as 1790. They could also be as recent as 1880. We also found porcelain. Porcelain that may have come from a commode, a vase, could have been anything like that. We found pieces of glass. Sometimes glass can be dated because the different glass comes from different time periods. We found tons of bricks, but we would. There were 5 or 6 chimneys on this house, and there was brick lining the walls of this house to protect against Indian arrows. So there'd be tons of bricks, and we didn't pay much attention to the bricks themselves in most cases. What you're looking at is a freestanding fireplace. The fireplace opening is actually right here. What I don't know is, was it ever attached to a building or not? And if so, why was this building way out here, 3/4 of a mile from everything else? So what I'd like to do here, if we can, is see if we can find any foundation down under here. If so, then we might be able to determine this is a building. But if you look up on this a little ways, right about there. It almost looks like that might have been a roof, a connection to a roof. And that would have been about the right height for a roof, and that this would have been a building that went off someplace over in this area. But don't know. There's a mantelpiece here. Quite nice looking. I had 3 major goals for this dig. One goal was to figure out the age of the house. All our records indicate 1790s. I wanted to see if we could prove it. Did we? Maybe, maybe not. We're gonna have to wait till the analysis of all the things come through and see what we've got. My second goal was the freestanding fireplace, to figure out what it was. Was it attached to a building in some way? We did a limited amount of digging at the freestanding fireplace. In the 2 hours that we dug out there, we found zilch. We found absolutely nothing. That would tend to make you believe that there was never a structure there of any kind. But that also leads to the question, why did they build this huge 20-foot fireplace just there? It doesn't make any sense. My third objective, I really feel like we did succeed at. We had over 70 volunteers here. Volunteers who came to be a part of this. We had 2 archaeologists here. We had 3 people who have done archaeology courses at Schenectady Community College. So we had a lot of people here, some of whom knew what they were doing, some of whom didn't. But every single one of them learned an awful lot about archaeology. We learned how to sift, we learned how to dig, we learned how to tell soil types, and all those little things. And every single person who spoke to me afterwards said, I would come back and do this in a minute again. This was a lot of fun. So the community aspect of this, I think, was a total success, and I'm very pleased about that. I'm very pleased that we got as many volunteers as we got here. So do we have any answers to anything? No, but history, archaeology doesn't always give us answers. There's a lot of question, there's a lot of gray area. We all think of history and archaeology as black and white, and it's not, it's gray. There's still a lot of things to uncover, there's still a lot of things to figure out, and there's still a lot of speculation we can do. And who knows, maybe down the road we will uncover some documents or some other proof here at this place that proves something more definitively than we have here. We've made a good start, and that's what's important. Now let's see where we go from here and what we can find out about Hawkwood.